GSL.
My conscience is telling me.
What's up, guys? I'm Tasteless, and this is the GSL Code A. It has been a fantastic GSL so far. We've got a lot of great players now being filtered into Code S, and today is going to be just as special. Now, previously, yesterday, we did see kind of a so-so match here against Blaze and Sleep. I would say probably one of the more lackluster matches in Code A, but the rest were great. Innovation against Keen. That was a real treat. Innovation is looking so good. You can see Keen was adapting, but when you get to late game, Innovation is just too much. And then finally, Dark. I mean, watch out for this guy. 3-0ing Alive. I think we can all agree that Alive was sort of the underdog there, but the games were still kind of exciting in the sense that Dark was just so solid. I think he's actually got a really good shot at coming into Code S here. So this is going to be a solo cast. Tasteless is the only one in Korea right now who's available at this broadcast time. There's so much esports going on everywhere. So this is going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to casting these games to you guys. Tell your friends to tune in. It should be a lot of fun. Also, today we got some great players coming in here. We're going to start today off with Trust up against jjakji. If you've only been following StarCraft for like the past year or two, you might not be familiar with who jjakji is. jjakji was this fantastic Terran, but he fell off a little bit. He was sort of I don't want to say, was a burnout for a little bit, but he got very high ranked in GSL, then sort of fell off, then played a little bit in some international tournaments. But he's here now. He's going up against Trust, and I think there's a good shot here. I'm kind of rooting to see jjakji back in Code S. When we get this GSL Code S, the list finally and entirely made up, I think we can all agree this is going to be easily the best GSL Code S of all time. I mean, years back we had these fantastic players coming aboard, and then we had a lot of the StarCraft I players switch over after that. So not everybody switched over from StarCraft I to StarCraft II, but we had a good number of them that at least did. Then the vast majority, the rest of the StarCraft I players switched over, but then WCS happened, right? So that chopped the world up. The Koreans divided up, Korean and non-Korean tournaments, cut them up like pie, and proceeded to make it a world dominated by Korea, if you will. Now, with the new changings in this system, it's encouraged and or forced a lot of the Koreans to come back here to Seoul, to the motherland. And that's made this GSL this whole year easily the best one we've had yet. It was cool. We got to see all these guys go overseas, get a lot of exposure, and actually, what's also cool is just they got to experience a foreign country and live there for a while. But time has changed now, and it's back to the Korean Leagues being the priority. Obviously there are plenty of other events going on right now. We got DreamHack as well as IEM. I think DreamHack might be starting now. IEM starting maybe tomorrow. I'm not totally sure. I'll check when I get home. But the players who are able to go there went there. But a lot of those players that you see there will be coming back here and competing in the GSL. Some of them even in the Code A that I'm casting here today. So our lineup here for today: Trust against jjakji, Young against Super, and finally, and I think probably the best matchup we're going to have here today, this is a great way to end it, Life against Trap. Now, Life, he was expected to win Season 2 by a lot of people that, follow StarCraft religiously. Thought, no, there's no way that Life can't win this. But he got knocked out pretty convincingly, actually. Trap, a Protoss who's very good, actually quite good at PvZ. So you definitely want to keep your eyes peeled for him. Byung over here, a middle matchup, Byung versus Super. This is going to be cool, too. Byung, I think, is the unsung hero of Terran. Guy's very strong. I expect him to beat Super, but Super's got a little bit of a wonky way to play. And PvT, the way it naturally is it's not always as important as the Terran to be simply put good against Protoss. It's to be good against the Protoss player that they're playing against. So let's see how this actually turns out. These will all be best of fives. I know that if you watched, GSL off and on over the years, and maybe haven't been watching Code S for a little while, it's a different, Code A for a little while. It's a different system that we have set up here. So these players have plenty of time to prepare for a best of five. They win that best of five, they're seeded into Code S. Obviously, they had to qualify to even get to this point in Code A, but this is the true test of StarCraft. To be able to beat someone in a best of 5 when you know who your opponent is, you have a chance to veto maps, to pick other maps. That is where it's really, that's where you really get to see a good player shine. What builds are you going to throw out there? When do you cheese? What kind of play style are you going to do? Are you going to try to counter his? Are you going to be able to predict if he's going to mix his own play up? Intimidation as well. Are you going to be super aggressive? Are you going to go for a stamina play here? Are you going to try to do several macro games in a row? I mean, people do forget how exhausting a best of 5 really is, and these guys don't have a lot of breaks in here. So this should be, this one to start off is actually just a great match here. We got Trust. I think some of you guys probably not as familiar with Trust, but he's a solid player. It was CJ, a fantastic team. So we'll see exactly how he does here today in the GSL Code A. We do have a small audience, by the way, showing up here. Thank you guys for coming down. For those of you at home, you're always welcome to come here in the studio. We don't get a very big showing on Code A days normally. Code S is a little bit more hype, but if you got to come down and you're here, this is a great time to pop through. Now, jjakji, this guy, he's got some really good builds, great pushes actually. Plays pretty differently from a lot of the other Terrans, but he's been incredibly overshadowed. Like, we have so. This is getting to the 27th season here of GSL, so we have a ton of players that we can always remember and think of the moment you think of StarCraft II, but a lot of people might forget jjakji because he was dominant so long ago. He's here now. This is his chance to possibly qualify into, again, what is easily the most competitive GSL Code S. Our map lineup. Well, first and foremost, Coda has been vetoed by Trust, and Echo was vetoed by jjakji. Cactus Valley will be map number 1. That followed with Iron Fortress, Terraform, Bonnie Research Station, and Expedition Lost. We've got a lot of new maps here in GSL, which some pro gamers don't like because that's a lot of maps they got to practice on. And just like, I think what is kind of the core, unfortunately, whenever we talk about RTS is the complaint of balance, which is an important conversation. Really perhaps one that clouds the discussion sometimes a little bit too much. Yes, you get new maps, it requires different play styles, but it also allows us to see what a game StarCraft is, how it can be played in different approaches, and really see its full potential as the best RTS game ever made. So our game is now loading up again. This is a solo cast, as I am the only guy right now in Korea that can cast here today. So it should be a lot of fun. I used to solo cast in Broodwar, then I picked up Artie McTosis and casted with him a bunch. But today, it's just going to be tasteless saving esports. So if your friends will tune in, it will be probably a different style of broadcast than what you guys are used to hearing. But it should be a fun one. I'm looking forward to doing it for you guys. Anyways, first best of 5 with Trust against jjakji is loaded up.
Masters of the skies, never sleep.
In the bottom right, in the red, he is
CJ and Tooth Trust.
in the upper left in the blue.
jjakji.
Okay, cross spawns on a big ass map. This should be a pretty long game. It is a map where expansions and cross spots for these guys, it's pretty easy to get the third base, second base obviously as well, and I think even fourth base. Terran, as we get later on here, is definitely going to want to try to abuse drops a little bit, but Protoss, actually, well, with that note too, Protoss also needs to be careful that the center of this map is much more open than other maps, which means that it's not entirely necessary for the Terran to defend, to rely, on Vikings, because Vikings, you have a map with a bunch of valleys, right? And you'd use the Vikings, by the way, obviously, to gun down Colossi here, but you don't want a map this big, and we saw Maru probably do this first. And frankly, I have no idea how jjakji's going to play this now. I mean, it's been a while since I've casted him, not really been able to follow him that much. So we'll see. I mean, this does allow him to have a little bit more flexibility with what kind of unit composition he has. Welcome to the studio, guys. Thank you for coming down here. And thank you at home for watching the solo cast here of the GSL Code A. And so we have the probe coming up here and taking a peek into the Terran's main. He's going to see it as a quick command center. And these builds are really not surprising at all because the map is, first of all, so big. You want to get your bases up early, but then second of all, it's not a one-on-one map, so statistically, the cheese is working just based off your position. You being able to put it exactly where you want to cheese them is a little bit tougher too. So this is the right way for both these guys to play the map. The cybernetics core started over here, and then we're going to see exactly what kind of tech Trust is going to show us. Now, Protoss can still try to end the game early here. And it's not really that much harder. I mean, granted, there is a big distance here on the map. It's also a map that when it's this big, you can actually avoid being seen by just going around. And, sure, there's that travel time, but that only matters for that, initial army you send out there. After that, you're popping out on a proxy pylon that really is unlikely for them to find. Terran, not really able to end the game as early. But that's not really a matter of, what's fair or who has an advantage. That's just a matter of what the options are at this phase of the game here. So, we're still waiting to see what the tech is going to be. Oh, hold on. We have Twilight Council, and that is actually being made there at the bottom left. So, he's definitely up to something. Now, the question is it just going to be quick blink? That's been very strong. I mean, you could go DTs. I don't know how good that really is. Fast expanding Terran has already secured, obviously, the lower ground. It's not going to be that hard to get defense, really, for him. And, of course, if you invest in DTs, one of the problems is just if they don't do more than pay for themselves, I mean, you're pretty behind. And so, it is going to be blink, by the way. Now, if I saw this inside the main, I'd say he's going for possibly defensive blink. Maybe he's going to get robos, but we see that the gateways are being hidden here. So he's up to some sneakiness, guys. Trust now with 3 gates outside of his main and 1 already inside of his main. So this is something that can be quite good. Let me, hold on a second. See, I got this preview PC to the right of me, which I can use. Normally Artosis is using this, or whoever else I'm casting with, but blink is definitely something that can punish a fast expanding turn. I don't think it's as great on this map, but I think the element of surprise is what's more important. Now, here's what's a little bit suspect. Okay, jjakji goes inside and sees the main, and he's seeing that there are 2 more gates making, but there's not really anything at all. I mean, 2 gates don't tell you much. Usually when you see a lack of tech or even a lack of already finished gates, you're a little bit suspicious. So I'm not entirely sure if jjakji is aware. Looks like he should be somewhat aware, right? He's getting the second bunker. Also important to note here, blink is done, but stim is halfway done. Now when stim finishes up, you can punish the blink stalkers a little bit more as long as you engage correctly. When the medevacs are out, that's when this thing has to end. And so the bunker here on the high ground, we have seen styles of play as well, where they just make the Terran make the bunkers and then they back off. And I'll talk about that in a sec. We actually have him coming down here now. Time warp there on that bunker as it barely dies in time. Stalker's actually taking a pretty significant amount of damage and now blinking the weaker ones back. This is really about having absolutely perfect blink micro. Now he does get 1 bunker, but another bunker remains anyways. Now a few more Stalkers come up here, and this is really, as you can see with the Zealots warping, and it's just below this here. Is it? I thought he warped. Yeah, there they are. They're down there. He's got the Zealots over here, too. So that means he really wants to come shove in here and actually end this. And he does! He takes it down. Nicely done. And now the Stalker's going to be able to be microed so easily here. He shouldn't even lose a single one. And the trick right now is you go right up in the main. You don't sit there and chase the command center. Boom, there you do. You blink right on top. Can't even move the Marauder out of there because he's surrounded. And then the Terran types GG. Trust. That was cool. That was really cool. I like the build. I think that, okay, so let's talk about that for a second there. We saw that bunker on the high ground, and I don't think that was bad, but I don't think it's quite as easy for Protoss to get up on that high ground anyways. You know, the gap is pretty far there. I think he probably should have had 4 bunkers, but it's tough. I mean, in that position, Terran can't. He's got a lot less tools at his disposal to micro with, right? First of all, the Stalkers have longer range than the Marines by just a little bit. The Stalkers are already faster, and then you have Blink, which is just a ridiculous ability as it is. Terran has to do a real balancing act with getting SCVs not just to the bunkers, but to the right bunkers, also in the right spot. If it's just Stalkers, you keep them in the back. If it's Zealots, you want to put them a little bit more in the front so they don't get as much surface area. Since Zealots actually do damage a little bit quicker than I think a lot of people realize. Since Zealots in StarCraft II are sort of normally thought of as these things that sponge up damage, which they do, but I mean, if you actually just let them sit there and do damage, they kill buildings quite fast. So that's why you see them take out hatcheries so well in PvZ and harass. Anyways, going on into game 2 here. Trust against jjakji on Iron Fortress. Let's see what exactly Trust is going to do. I think setting the tempo here for the best of 5 really succeeded here with Trust. jjakji had enough of a build to kind of show us the way he was thinking about playing the game, but Trust really disguised that pretty beautifully. Got in there and just smashed Terran. And there's different schools of thought on this, and it really, well, I'll get to this in a second. We're going to go ahead and start up now. Game number 2 here with Trust against jjakji. In the bottom right, in the red.
CJN2's Trust.
In the bottom left, in the blue.
jjakji.
Once a fantastic player champion, now here down 0-1. Okay, so what was I going to say earlier when we started this? Okay, so there's some different schools of thought about, how do you play a best of 5? And I think doing timing attacks like that are risky, but based on a window of time, are actually a great way to start a best of 5. Because first of all, you can't do it that often. There's no sign of desperation. We've seen these games where sometimes a guy's, for instance, up 2-0. And then he does the cheese, right? Because he's like, I could probably take a risk and end it. Or a guy who's even down 2-0 and then cheeses. I mean, there's really no way to read how your opponent's going to play. Excuse me. So far, this series, kind of the opposite of what we saw yesterday with, oh my God, what's Panic's new ID? Blaze against Sleep. That's right. So that was probably one of the poorer best of 5 series, just because it seemed like the builds they were picking didn't seem to make a lot of sense. It seems like a player who would adapt pretty well would, probably beat either of those guys. But so far, and I know we're only in game 1 here, so take that with a grain of salt. But I think this is already sizing up to be a pretty damn good game, good series rather. Now from Terran, we have Command Center actually before the barracks, which is totally fine. I think that's great. And hold up. Is he going to do anything over here? Yes, he is. This is what's kind of one of these funny tricks. Back in the day, when people were still figuring proxies out, there was, and obviously all these maps have different spawns, but just because we're seeing this is kind of cool to talk about. But, let's say that he gets a Stargate here. Let's say that the Terran was at the top or was at the bottom left. It actually doesn't matter because it's proxied either one. And it's kind of a cool concept. There was really a long time ago, there was a tournament, and it was a player named Smuff. Who was actually a Canadian who lived in Korea, who was really, really, really bright player, one of the best players I've ever seen, against this really good player named Testy in a Canadian tournament. And it was actually, out of all the StarCraft games you could ever see, this was the one where, like, the riskiest strat I've seen ever was done. It was a guy the 3-player map, right? And he took the biggest risk I've ever seen. He just blindly proxied one of the mains. Smuff did. He blindly made gates in one of the mains because that was literally something no one had ever done ever at a tournament. And it was like the coin flip all in, right? And since we started seeing people really experiment with that, like an all-in's already risky, but what if it's even like 1,000 times more unlikely that he wouldn't have you wouldn't have had gates in your main made because there's more than one certain location. That's what he did, and it worked. But we've seen a ton of creative proxies since then throughout Brood War, then all the way here into StarCraft 2. I'd say even more so into StarCraft 2 now. They've really got a lot of cool, cheesy stuff. Anyways, into this game now. The Zealot, the Oracle coming up here now, and the Stalker. And the problem is the Oracle just kills the Marines immediately. The Stalker has that additional range, so the Marines, when they run, they're still losing. The Zealot deals damage fast. They can get in the way. And look at this. He can actually micro this right into the back, kind of behind this depot. And this almost looks like a little bit of a, not a wall off, but certainly a more difficult location to engage. And this is, this is already doing a lot of damage. It is now 14 workers to 24. Now the Oracle is out of energy here. And did he? Yeah, he's making a second Oracle here. So this is not going to stop. This might not even end. He's got, an engineering bay up here. Now he's going to be careful. That HP there on that Oracle getting a little bit lower, but it's still fine. That's it. GG. Guys, this is like the speed run of best of 5s here, man. This is Cosmo speed runs of GSL Code A here. I mean, I love jjakji. He's a great player, but he is getting shreked. What time is it? Hold on a second. Okay, we started today at 6:30, and we're going into game 3 now. It's 6:52 p.m. That was so short and so good. I mean, man, if jjakji loses actually in the next game, I don't know if this is going to feel like it was actually a series. This was like medevacs. What are those? I don't know, guys. I haven't seen one all day today. That's some ancient Terran tech that we don't know if they've managed to retrieve yet. Siege tanks? Never heard of it, my friend. A Tempest? I think that is a made-up unit. We're not going to see any of the late games. Psionic Storm? Never heard of it, man. Frankly, I would just do some cheese again. I mean, this is working. By the way, really well executed there. I like how he knew to go for the Marines. I think a lot of other players, they do that and they might go for SCDs because they don't get the build, but that's what you do. You kill them. Marines, when they pop out, they're weaken up, especially with a second Oracle there. And I would even assume you probably got a third Oracle with that build. I don't think that's a build you stop. Ain't no brakes on this cheesy train. Anyways, we're going to go into game number 3 already. Map Terraform. I'm actually, I'm wondering, the players are not required to actually get down here to the studio, like, all at the same time. Some of them, we have, show up, maybe 30 minutes, an hour later, so they can practice more in the house. But this might be, like, world record shortest best of 5 here. I hope not. I want to have a longer day today, but I might be proven wrong.
Welcome to a GSL. This is the
Over here in the bottom right, in the red, he is
CJN2's Trust.
in the upper left in the blue.
jjakji.
We did see he had a little, I don't know, whatchamacallit on his wrist, like a little pad there. A lot of these guys actually do get tendonitis or carpal tunnel. That's why you got to be really careful. If you're a pro gamer, you got to stretch your wrists out. There's actually, maybe somebody can link it in the chat, there's actually a great video on how to stretch your wrists and fingers and hands if you're a pro gamer. And I would highly recommend it. I've personally gotten tendonitis. Just a very mild case from it. And That is a bitch, man. That hurts. And obviously, you can't play very well on it. But when you do have some of these guys, they have maybe a mild injury, but it's game day. Are you going to come down here to the GOM studio and play or not? And I think got jjakji here in that case. Yeah, definitely take care of your wrists. Take care of the heights of your monitor, guys. Make sure that's eye level. Put a book under the monitor if you need to. Put a couple books up there. You don't want to look like a mutalisk sitting in a chair, man. What was that SCV doing? Hold up here. Looks like he wanted to peek out for a second and check around. We have a Reaper build here from jjakji, which is saying, you are not pulling a fast one on me. Funny thing about when you do a Reaper build, normally the Reaper can scout around so the SCV doesn't have to, but this is really, this is Captain Careful play here. Back here in Trust's base, well, he's going for the cybernetics core. It doesn't really tell us too much. And I can't really speculate for you guys because the way this game's looking, he could still be doing like anything. Unless it should have already happened. So we'll have to wait here. The Stalker is coming again. Chrono boost there. Obviously, you want to get rid of the SCV before you do your tech, or you can do a. It used to do this a little bit more, but make a fake tech. This is like players like Genius were doing this, but it doesn't work as much. That's when you make a tech and they leave and then you cancel it. And then the other player's like, duh, he must have just kept the building. But it doesn't work as much anymore because it's not efficient, and if they just don't try to counter what they scouted that you did really early and just showed them kind of blatantly, then you're kind of not playing wrong. If you ladder though, that's a good strat, because then that's where a lot of people are trying to they can't even keep up with their APM, so you just like throw some false information out there and you can totally bait them and counter it. Bunker on the way. Again, we saw an SCV scout, then fall. Whoa. I'm sorry, where's the Reaper's at actually the bottom here? This is already horrible. He should actually just go in on that SCV. Is he going to go for the SCV? So see, I thought he should have hit the SCV back there, but maybe I'm getting a little bit too nitpicky here. And that SCV does get away. Anything to delay that command center is pretty good. Now, what's funny about scouting with the SCV is normally the Reaper sort of does that for you, but it looks like he was just incredibly cautious, did not want to lose this right away. Now, he does see the blink being upgraded. Is this going to be a cancel? It could be. Sometimes canceling tech a little bit. Probably not, actually. Now that I look at it now, he's making 2 more gates. I don't think you cancel that and make a, a Dark Shrine. So, the Robo Bay, is coming up. Now, we know he won with Blink last time, but this is a different build. This build, he's going to go, for the Robo Bay. He's not, at least so far, getting a bunch of gates. Now, there's still a lot you can do with a Robo Bay on this to punish, but this could also very well be a build that we've seen a lot recently. I'd probably say a little bit more so in the Season 1 of this year, which is you just get observers and you kind of wait for them to have medevacs come out here, and then you just shoot down the medevac. You kind of play into that. Maybe we will have some aggression though. Proxy pylon there, never bad. Also multifaceted use since it is there. You can check for that expansion. Not always a great expansion to take. I think there's some players who might disagree with me on that, but there are clearly problems with if you try to take that, since you could be hit from behind. And this also could be a game where we see a lot of 2-base powering, really, since the third is in sort of an odd unnatural place, and he's going to warp in more Stalkers. Now, just because he's got Stalkers out in the front doesn't mean he's going to try to win at all costs. But if he sees an opening, he can definitely do something. Remember, when these SCVs are pulled over here by the bunker, they're not mining. They're losing about 1 mineral every second that an SCV is not mining. So this is really good chunks of workers that are being. He's going to be punished in a different way. Now, this is what I did not expect at Dark Shrine. That surprises me, but it also excites me because I assumed he was probably going to keep powering up. Maybe go for some kind of more heavy Robotech. By the way, Stalkers coming in here, just trying to shave off SCVs. Got to be careful with this because later on those Stalkers are losing HP if they're not microed correctly. And, sometimes Protoss Army just die. We already see how Stalkers just die alone once Terran has a lot of medevacs and stim. So got to be careful not to overextend there. Now with the DT, He could try something cute. He could try some Harlem Globetrotter stuff. He could make a DT run up with the Stalkers and then try to run the DT at the main while the Stalkers are attacking. I don't know if that's good. Let's see what he does with it. He's also getting a Forge and getting the Colossus Tech here. So, yeah, I mean, let's see what he does. Over here on jjakji's side, I think I've been casting this maybe a little bit too much from Trust's side because he's been an exciting player to follow here. jjakji, now that he's in a phase of the game where he gets to do things, he is going to try to come over here and drop some Widow Mines in the expansion. So let me check the preview PC here. Okay, there's the DT. And he actually, is he going to try to blink up in the main with this too? And kind of a sloppy play there by those two DTs. Now you want to tuck that DT in the corner. Does he blink up? Nope, there's a bunker there. You know, I'm kind of on the fence with the DTs. Not sure if that was a great strat. I like it. I like that he tried it though. Looks like what he wanted to do is he had those Stalkers over there. He wanted to try to draw his opponent more up into the main, then send DTs into the expansion and maybe one more into the main. But, you know, there's a reason why we don't see people really try that because, you know, it's a lot of lost investment if it doesn't work out really well. So Stim is, what about, you know, a fourth of the way done here. We have Thermal Ant starting in armor for Protoss. Let me check on the preview PC, see if I can scoot over here. So he's got a lot of gates he's powering up on with this. And I don't really blame him for doing this at all. I think this is actually totally fine. Get everything you need and wait as long as possible to get a third base. If you want to get a third base. I assume he is because there's that probe over there, but you know, it's also completely worth it to have a probe over there. Let's say he scans or something, and then he thinks you're taking a third when he's not, and when you're not, in fact. And there's the Nexus, so he will be expanding. And that means it's going to be up to Terran to, oh, sick. I was going to say, he could blink up here into the main, but yeah, he beat me to it. And now coming down here and getting these nice tech lefts. Is that the one making Stim? Okay, it looks like he should be able to repair that in time. But now the SCV is going to be picked off. Going for the medevac here, just getting all these key, very, very important units. I mean, you can't afford to lose medevacs here. Now he's counterattacking up. Stim, I don't feel like I've ever thought Stim took so long to make, because now that I'm watching this and seeing how much time he has to spend babysitting that area. Now an attack up here in the front's pretty good. He might actually have to pull probes here. No, maybe not actually. It's not being micromanaged very well at all. Is this just going to end? Okay, Stim finishes, but do we care? Also remember, Terran actually attacked into that before Stim was done, so that was a problem. But I think right now this is complete panic mode. This is like a Terran bad dream right now. And I don't think he's going to be waking up from it. This is, I believe, almost the point of no return. Getting SCVs here, he's going to have another blink that he can use to try to maneuver around here. Oops, kind of misblinked there. Didn't quite have vision up there, so blinked on himself. There are 13 workers. I'm going to say that again. There are 13 workers. That's to 51 probes. Trust is balling out of control. He's got so much income. He can do whatever he wants here. jjakji's trying to do a harass. And yeah, I don't know. He doesn't even have to actually chase this down. He could probably just go into the main. I mean, when you kill like even half the guy's workers now, and he's already down to like the starting number of what he gets in the game. So he's going to chase this around here. And now he's going to try to attack over here into the front. A scan there, gets rid of the DT, but I mean, does that really matter? I think we have less than 10 seconds in this game, guys. I think he kind of walks up here. You can see in jjakji's face, unfortunately, one of real defeat and sadness. It's over. And let me check my phone here. How fast was this? Okay, it's about to become 7:05. So this was a best of 5 that ended with us doing the intro of the show, with me yammering on in between games. We had to wait for the games to load. I mean, and it was done in what was the course of 35 minutes. That is the shortest best of 5 I think I have ever casted. Maybe I casted something like one of the horrible StarCraft games from like season 1 of 5 years ago, in the era where people one-base 2 racks against a one-base Protoss, and then they crossed their fingers and closed their eyes and stimmed and tried to run up the ramp and hope he didn't have force field. Maybe then I casted shorter games, but for professional play at this level, at this time, no. Not much else to say. I guess the question we have to ask ourselves, and I'm not entirely sure, is was this truly, just the brilliance here of Trust? Was this the misplay there by jjakji? Was it a mixture of both? It was so short, it was kind of hard to tell. I don't know. I guess what we do know is we do have a Protoss moving on to the GSL Code S. We are going to take a short little break, and when we come back, we will go on already onto our second best of 5 here today.